It's the book club for kids.
It's a book club for kids.
It's the book club for kids.
It's the book club for kids podcast.
Hi, I'm Kitty Felde. Who are the best spies in the United States? Well, would you believe the rodents who live in the walls and ceilings of Washington, D.C.'s International Spy Museum? Writer Heather Vogel Frederick says the tale of spy mice began in a dream.
I woke up with the word spy mice ringing in my thought, and so I just thought, oh, great. Now I got to figure out a story with spies in a museum.
Our celebrity reader is a woman who knows something about spies, former CIA operative Valerie Plame.
Only the elite silver skateboard agent got the glamorous European postings. London, Paris, Berlin, Rome. Earning a silver skateboard was her ticket to the world.
And our panel of readers from LA's Ambassador School of Global Education debate whether humans or rodents make the more interesting characters.
I prefer rats and mice because humans, not to be mean, but they're kind of boring.
This is the Book Club for Kids, the podcast where kids talk about books. We'll tell you how you could be on the show a little later on, but first, let's meet our readers from one of LA's newest schools, built on the site of the old Ambassador Hotel, the Ambassador School of Global Education.
Hello, my name is Marissa.
Hello, my name is Josue.
Hello, my name is Brian.
Hello, my name is Fatima. Hello, my name is Mark.
Hello, my name is Ashley.
And we are 5th graders from Ambassador School of Global Education in Los Angeles.
All right, so who wants to tell me what the book's about?
The book starts off with Oz and the sharks. The sharks are these bullies that call themselves sharks because they're fierce and they're vicious. Oz is one of the characters from the book.
Where does this book take place?
Washington, D.C. Spy Museum.
The Spy Museum is where the mice live, and they have their agency there as well. The mice's name is Glory, and Glory is a mice that is a spy, and she goes on a mission, and she always wants to finish her mission or her quest.
But Glory isn't a particularly lucky mouse. What happens to her, Marissa?
She's sad because her father died. She thought her father got assassinated.
What else can you tell me about Glory?
She rides a skateboard and she is brave.
What kind of a spy is Glory? Is she a good spy or?
Not really, because she was seen once by a human, and a spy code is that you can never be seen by a human. Well, she's good with her moves while doing her skateboard. And the bad thing is that she also, when she tries to land, she sometimes fails, and she also lost the kiss of death.
What the heck is the kiss of death?
It's a weapon.
It's a weapon that can destroy you.
It was disguised as a lipstick.
Get the joke?
Yeah.
There were a lot of jokes in this book. Do you guys remember any of the other ones that were kind of silly? Do you remember any?
Oz and his friend DB, instead of the Trojan horse, they got a Trojan donkey, and everyone thinks it's a Trojan horse.
In the end of the book, Glory and another character, Bunsen, tickled the bully sharks, and one of them, their pants fell down and showed their boxers.
Is that embarrassing to show your boxers to the world?
Yeah, it's really embarrassing.
So Oz is short for something. He has a kind of embarrassing name. What's it short for?
Ozymandias. It's the name of a poem.
He feels embarrassed and shy about his full name.
Are any of you guys embarrassed by your names?
I'm embarrassed of my name, my first name, because last year they'd always call me Marker and stuff like that, question mark.
Instead of just plain Mark.
Yeah.
Why do you think people make fun of our names?
Sometimes they say that they're sometimes jealous of our names, or they just want to see if we get bothered by them.
And how do you react?
Well, sometimes people just out in the outside they really don't care, but in the inside they really feel bad.
Sometimes they could take it really hard that they get really mad, and then they scream at them and they might hit them.
There's mice and there's rats in this book. Do you guys like mice and rats or not particularly?
No, because they're like really scary, and plus I have a cat, and I think she also hates mice, so we're the haters of mice.
I prefer mice because mice are kind of like hamsters, and rats are like more filthy. They could give you rabies, and you'd have to go to the doctor.
I agree with Mark and Fatima because mice are cute and rats, they like late meat, they're dirty, they're mean. Yeah. I prefer mice because they're instead of rats, like they kind of like sometimes scare you, but mice don't really.
Especially our main character, a little mouse named Glory. Our celebrity reader is a woman who worked as an undercover operative for the CIA, Valerie Plame.
Morning, Glory! Glory rolled her eyes at the stout gray mouse offering a mock salute from across the Spy Mice Agency Central Command. "Stow it," she snapped, adding, "Stupid house mouse," under her breath. What an idiot! If she had heard that stupid greeting once, she had heard it 1,000,000 stupid times before. "Julius wants to see you," Fumble added, a smug smile creeping across his broad face. Great, thought Glory. There goes my job. She scowled at her colleague in reply, squared her elegant little shoulders, and strode across the room. The Spy Mice Agency headquarters hummed with activity. In one corner, a cluster of mice, including Fumble, were seated on empty film canisters around the overturned margarine tub that served as their conference table. Some were busy scribbling reports with pencil stubs. Others were listening intently through mouse-sized headphones, made from pistachio shells and pipe cleaners, to radio transmissions from field agents still out on assignment. She glanced over at the opposite side of the room where her older brother Chip and his fellow foragers were busy unloading their bulging backpacks. "Good haul today, Chip?" she called. Her brother grinned and held up a belt buckle, a toy whistle, a handful of paper clips, and a pacifier. "Prime stuff," he replied. "Can't wait to see what the lab whips up out of these." In yet another corner, the computer gymnasts were limbering up for their shift, which would begin upstairs on the administrative floor after the museum closed. While some performed a series of yoga stretches, others leaped up and down in formation as the lead mouse called out, "QWERT, ASDF, YUIOP. There, but for a bit of luck, go I, thought Glory. Just last summer, she had been plucked from those very ranks to train as a field agent. Glory had always been a good speller in school, and joining the computer gymnasts, mice trained to use human keyboards after hours to tap out email messages, surf the internet, and so on, had seemed a natural career step. She could have gone far with those skills, for good computer gymnasts were needed everywhere here in the nation's capital. Still, Glory was grateful that she had caught the eye of the Spy Mice Agency director, who had recruited her as a field agent instead. As for herself, Glory only had one goal and one goal only, to earn her silver skateboard, the highest honor that could be bestowed on a Spy Mice Agency field agent, and the silver skateboard was her passport to adventure. Only the elite silver skateboard agent got the glamorous European postings, London, Paris, Berlin, Rome. Earning a silver skateboard was her ticket to the world, if she could keep out of trouble meanwhile.
Now, in this book, there are human characters and there are mouse and rat characters. So when you look at this as a reader, which are more interesting, the human characters or the mice characters?
I think the mice characters, because they could actually talk and they could do things that a human can do.
I prefer rats and mice because humans, not to be mean, but they're kind of boring. And rats and mice, it's pretty exciting and weird to see them doing human stuff. For example, like when they're using the computer, they have to do acrobatics to send stuff.
I think because we're humans, we think that mice are more interesting, but probably mice think that we're more interesting. And it really depends because we know how humans are. We think that mice are more interesting, but we really don't know that. But I think depending on what the book says, I think mice are actually really interesting.
I say mice because you never know what they're doing, because as we humans, we're big and we cannot fit through small holes. And I say they could be hiding stuff from us, and yeah, it's pretty cool. While we type like with fingers, they do like cool stuff like jump on the keyboards to type, not like us.
I think mice because mice, when you're super hungry, like the food is big, you could eat a lot.
So in this book, there are two antagonists.
One of them is DuPont, the rat king, and the other one is Julius, the one that fired Glory from the agency.
Well, one might think of him as the antagonist. Who else you might think of as the antagonist?
I think the rat DuPont and Fumble, because he really hated Glory and there was no actually reason for him to hate Glory. I think Julius is an antagonist because he's really strict. He only gives the agency mice 3 chances or they're fired.
I say the real villain is DuPont because he kidnapped the father of Glory and makes them suffer.
I think the real villain is DuPont because every time he kills somebody, he keeps their ears and their tails, and that's really mean. I agree with Brian and Fatima. DuPont is the real antagonist. He might be the Rat King, but to his other rat members, he's so rude to them.
Well, did you like the book? Is this a book you'd recommend to others?
Yes, I totally recommend this for 4th graders and up. It's really interesting. It's mysterious. It has like cliffhangers. I recommend this.
I will also recommend this because this book is adventurous and it has big mysteries and questions that you want to ask. Like, is Glory father really dead or not? I really recommend this book to you because people that like spies, you could read this book and it's awesome and cool.
Do you guys want to be spies? Any of you guys want to be a spy?
I don't, because you have to wake up really early and you don't have enough sleep.
And also because if you do something wrong, maybe your boss will scream at you.
You go on detective missions and something really dangerous could happen. And I prefer to work as my passion. My passion is to be a chef when I grow up.
Being a spy can be good because you get a lot of privileges, and it might not be good because it's a really dangerous job.
Some yes, because you get cool gadgets, and half of me no, because you could suffer and be on pain because some evil person could capture you.
Perhaps this crew isn't interested in interrogating Russian spies, but they're pretty good at questioning writer Heather Vogel Frederick.
What inspired you to make the book? Why did you make it on Washington, D.C.? What inspired you to write about rats and mouses?
So I grew up during the golden age of what they call spy-fi TV. You know, I grew up watching Get Smart and The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and Mission Impossible and I Spy and, of course, on the big screen, James Bond. And I've just always loved spies, espionage, thrillers, all that kind of thing. And many years ago now, when I was working at the Christian Science Monitor as a reporter, I came across a clipping, and something came across the wire that talked about the building of this new museum in Washington. And I just remember practically shrieking. And I took the clipping and I put it in a file, and I thought, someday I'm going to do a book about this. Because I've always loved, from the mixed up files of Mrs. Baisley, Frank Weiler, and the story about the kids staying overnight in the Metropolitan Museum. And so I had thought, not copying that, but using that as a springboard, just that idea of doing something in a museum. Not planning to do anything with whiskers and a tail. And then at some point, I woke up with the word spy mice ringing in my thought. And so I just thought, oh, great. Now I got to figure out a story with spies in a museum.
How did you come up with all the characters?
For me, creating characters, it's very organic. You start with one thing. Sometimes it's just a name. Sometimes it's a characteristic, and it just grows from there. And then her whole family evolved, and then, of course, Roquefort DuPont, and
Is this based on a true story?
I did go to the Spy Museum, and at the time, actually, I had a tenuous relative, the brother of a brother-in-law, who was working there. And so he was able to provide me with a lot of behind-the-scenes information of how the layout of the building and various geeky questions that I was asking. And then a lot of it, I just made it up. But I read probably a giant stack of books about espionage and just different elements of spycraft, that sort of thing, to be able to give some authenticity to the book. And of course, then there was the James Bond binge watching, which won't talk. We'll draw a veil across that. But all these things we have to do in the name of research. It's a fun job. What can I say?
We always like to ask, what's your favorite book? Marissa?
My favorite book is like fairy tales that tell you a bunch of stories because they're awesome and they're like childhood because some stories are from the past. You could get an idea from that.
My favorite book is Star Wars The Force Awakens, a junior novel, and I like this book because it gives you a lot of action.
And the book that I really liked was The Red Pyramid because right there it had magic, adventure, suspense, and it was a really long book and made you wonder, get your mind into it and picture it.
Stone Soup, because there's a lot of teamwork and sharing in that book, and it's really nice.
I don't have a favorite book, but my favorite series are Percy Jackson, Rick Riordan books. Because they're really mysterious. They really make you wonder, like, what's going to happen. Is this person going to die or is he not? It's also a book of cliffhangers.
I have two of them. One of them is Dork Diaries, and the other one is Diary of a Wimpy Kid, because I like those two books because you get to hear about another person's life, like a story about them in middle school, and you also get to have like a connection with them.
What's your favorite book?
My favorite book is Skellig, Skellig, by a writer named David Almond. And it's about this kid in England whose parents moved to this old house that they're going to fix up, except that his mom is having a baby and the baby comes early. And so she has to go in the hospital. And the thing the parents tell the kid is stay out of the garage because it's going to fall down around you. So, of course, he goes in the garage and he discovers a creature that may be an angel or an owl or a skeleton. The reason I like Skellig is because it's an imaginary thing that I never even thought about before. And I like his connection to his family. And the writing is really good. What about you, Valerie Plame?
It's called Barbarian Days, A Surfing Life by William Finnegan. And he talks about his childhood in California and Hawaii, where he learned to surf and traveled the world finding amazing surf spots. But it's much more than that. The writing is so beautiful, and he is such a thoughtful person, and I just found it to be a wonderful escape from politics. And for my favorite children's book, I would have to say in the top 3 would be Harriet the Spy.
So what's your favorite book, Heather Vogel Frederick?
Oh, that's such an easy one, and it's such a cliche, but I am a huge Charlotte's Web fan. E.B. White was a journalist like me, and an essay writer, and just wonderful, wonderful writer in every regard. And I reread that book yearly. I call it Taking a Class with Mr. White. And I always learn something new every time I read it. It's a book, it's a touchstone for me, it's something I go back to, and I think it's the great American novel. I really do.
What's your favorite book? Well, why don't you tell us about it? All you have to do is record yourself on your smartphone telling us the name of your favorite book and why you love it, and you email the voice memo to us at kitty@bookclubforkids.org. And we'll have a list of everybody's favorite books at our website, bookclubforkids.org. Book Club for Kids is funded in part by the D.C. Commission on the Arts and Humanities, an agency supported in part by the National Endowment for the Arts and by listeners like you. Thanks this week to Jonathan Jensen, who composed and performed our music. And thanks to our readers as well, Ashley, Fatima, Oswe, Mark, Marissa, and Brian from LA's Ambassador School of Global Education. And thanks to their wonderful teacher, Jose Rodriguez, and his aide, Betsy Hanger, for making our visit so terrific. We have a free newsletter for teachers, parents, and librarians full of free tips about how to turn kids into lifelong readers. You can sign up at our website, bookclubforkids.org. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, even Pinterest, and we love to hear from you. You can just leave us a review on iTunes. We read all of them, and by the way, we ask for that review and rating because that's the way that other parents find the show and share it with their kids. So thank you so much for all those reviews. And before we say goodbye, I'm going to give the last word to the kids from the Ambassador School of Global Education, talking about the power of imagination.
It's a power that we kids have, and that thing stays with us because we keep dreaming of what we can do, the exciting things that can happen. That's what the power of wonder can do.
I'm Kitty Felde. Thanks a lot for listening.